Oh, psychedelics. Yeah, Jake, you're the mushroom man. Like funny. Nah, mushrooms are everywhere. There's millions.
It's Sugar Snake Takes.
Hey everybody, what's happening? We are doing another Sugar Snake Takes, and we're going to change it up today. We're just going to do it differently, and we're going to talk about some origin stories because a lot of people don't know how Jake and Rashad and Mike and I all kind of came together, and we're thinking, it might be time for people to get an opportunity to hear about how these relationships come to and why we're all joining forces to make change in the world through mushrooms and other endeavors. But so with that, I'm going to pass it off to Mike, who's going to navigate this conversation today, and we'll just have a casual origin story, some genesis. So, Mike.
Sweet. Thanks, Del. Yeah, I'm sitting here with the three UMBO co-founders, and I don't know if there's ever been sort of a public deep dive into how the three of you guys really came connected and how that all led to the birth of this functional mushroom company. So I think the most obvious place to start is just giving us the background. When did you guys all first meet originally? How did these connections come about? My understanding is that Del, you might be the glue between Jake and Rashad, but how did you meet? We'll start with you, Jake. How did you meet Del? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, that's I remember meeting Dell when I was doing some work with Charlotte's Web hemp oils, working with them through uh, a process with the realm of carrying and doing when the bright lights fade, talking about former players and what happens to us in our transitions, and really ultimately bringing light to the mothers and their fight for the right to give their children this natural plant medicine derived from the hemp plant, which doesn't get you high. And again, had all this education and misunderstanding from the people and education we had to do to teach them about it and the differences between THC and CBD. And that's where I met Dale. Dale was came in towards the tail end when I was working with Charlotte's Web as an advocate, an influencer, and yeah, I remember meeting Dale the first time and thinking, wow, okay, this guy's pretty sharp looking guy, and he's got his stuff together. And then we kind of kept in touch, and as time went, and I stepped away from Charlotte's Web after benefiting greatly from that one plant and all it could provide for my body, my mind, my spirit. Dale kept in touch. He kept reaching out. We'd go have lunch. We'd connect once in a while. And then pre-pandemic, or right about when the pandemic really came into effect, actually pre-pandemic, Dell and I met up, and that's when I met Rashad. So met him at a restaurant and went to Trevor Whitman's training facility, and that's when Dell introduced, I think, Rashad and I both to mushroom tinctures, and said, "Take these and tell me what you guys think." And so, Dell is the glue. Dell is the guy who kind of kept in touch with me, reaching out, keeping that friendship going. And with the opportunity from experiencing one plant, hemp, and all of its mass amounts of benefits and the good that it's done, we decided to step into this realm of the fungal queendom and understand it better, which we still don't know much about it, but we're learning and we're growing, and we're trying to, as Dale said, make a difference in the world for better, for helping people heal. So that's how I got to here. And as far as or at least where we got to, the conception and the idea behind Numbo was having breakfast with Rashad and a couple other fighters, and Dale giving me some tincture way back right before the lockdown, right before everything went down with the pandemic.
Del, I seem to remember there was a serendipitous moment that happened. Maybe you know what I'm alluding to. When you had another sort of touch point with Jake. You know what I'm talking about?
No, tell me.
When when your wife was giving birth.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that the very first time I ever met or saw Jake was our youngest daughters are what 3 months apart. Jake, is that right? Is what Lala? Okay. And I was my wife was upstairs giving birth to my youngest daughter. And I remember going downstairs to get something or whatever, and I was walking through the lobby and I saw Jake, and we locked eyes. And I was kind of looking at him like, oh man, I think that's Jake Plummer, and kind of gave me a nod. And I went upstairs and I told Jake, I'm like, hey, I think I just saw Jake Plummer downstairs. And my wife, who gives birth like a champ, she's like, well, tell him it's game time. She had the youngest daughter then, so that was the first time we had ever unofficially met. But I remember that.
I don't remember that, but you do.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I was not someone to remember as you were at the point there. You know.
What about you, Rashad? How did you get folded into all this?
I met Dell through Trevor Whitman. We were going to this place where it was for young entrepreneurs in the space, and really teaching entrepreneurs how to format their company. And I was going there with Trevor Whitman through Onyx, and he told me about Dell, and we actually ran into Dell. And at the time, Dell was working with Charlotte's Web, and my sister was going through some kind of health thing, and I asked him for some medicine with Charlotte Web because it worked. I use it, and I was like, man, this stuff really works. So I asked him for some, and he sent my sister some stuff, went above and beyond, and it was really cool. But what really got what really got Dell and I talking was I was going through this my transition, and I was discovering truth, and just feeling different about the world. And I posted something, and right away Dell was like, man, I think I don't know you that well, but I'm pretty sure I understand the space that you're in. And we kind of talked a little bit for the next few weeks, and he told me about this medicine that can help me get some clarity on things, and just kind of give me some perspective. And I listened to him, but at the time I just really didn't think too much of it. And after I lost my last fight against Anthony Smith in the UFC, I was in that place where I was like, man, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know what was next, and I needed to understand what was next for me, because do I keep on competing, or do I just go with how I was feeling, which is just to be done with the sport. And we decided to take a trip. We decided to go and experience this medicine together, and that's when I got introduced to the toad. And from that experience on, it's just been a complete unfolding on who I've been. But Dell has been very instrumental and helped me along the way, helping me truly understand, mushrooms, my true first experiences with understanding mushrooms. And, from psilocybin to the functional mushroom, Dell was the one who helped me with that. He helped me understand it. The first time I ever used lion's mane, he really was at his house. And, it was always bringing me along and kind of helped me out. And after me, Dell and I were, hanging out for a while, probably like a year or so, I got a chance to get introduced to Jake. And, it was crazy because I still remember meeting Jake for the first time at breakfast. And at first, like, Dell said Jake, but it didn't click in my mind that it was like Jake the Snake, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then when I seen him, I'm like, I know this dude. I'm like, oh, it just came to me. And I was like, oh, okay. Because, Jake was just totally so unassuming, but just such a nice person, just a really cool, down to earth person. Nothing like I expected.
Thank you, Rashad. Yeah, I was a little bit taken aback just how comfortable it felt sitting next to Rashad when I met you that day, that morning. And Dell's always what drew us together was that we always felt really good together, like we felt comfortable and at ease. Same thing when I met you, Rashad, was like man, this guy just feel like there's something about you was just at ease. And so as we've grown together, we've realized like we are very strong, courageous men that could turn and flip that switch if we had to. But otherwise, like we've found a way to really capture our calm, and that's really it's beautiful to see from a couple amazing men that I've been able to be around for the last few years, having some fun.
So, Rashad, were you a football fan? Did you watch Jake play during his playing days?
Yeah, I did. I watched him quite a bit, to be honest. You know how I was a big football fan. Grew up the Buffalo Bills, and I grew up playing football. So football is my first love. So when I met Jake, I was like, oh wow, this is Jake. So I mean, I don't normally get starstruck, but like I got a big, like, a lot of respect for football players. Because I mean, it's an amazing what they do. I worked the sidelines, and I used to see these big, crazy athletes to be able to do what they're able to do, move and run and jump and just stuff that people shouldn't be able to do.
And what about you, Jake? Had you been an MMA fan prior to meeting Rashad? Had you been exposed to that world much?
Prior,
Uh,
you still isn't.
what?
Prior, you still aren't. You still aren't into. We're gonna get
I have a
into
tough time watching people go in and beat each other up. I mean, it's like I support and I'm there to love, but I never really. I mean, I watched a few matches through the history and back in the day, but I'll be honest, man, it's like it's not something that has drawn me in as a sport. I like to watch. I've seen highlights and seen some of the brutality, and for me, it's like witnessing that violence is hard. It's hard to see, and it was hard to watch Rashad go out and do it the last time. Once I knew him and knew how what his spirit was all about, kind of knew him as a human, to watch him go out there was just like, ooh, just didn't want to see him get hurt. I can only imagine now, like my mom and how much she had to probably go through watching me play ball every snap. Like, oh, because the guys were trying to get me. So yeah, but I got mad respect just because I played a team sport. I played where I had 10 guys supporting me on offense, 11 guys on defense, coaching staff. So like I was one part of that, where when you're a fighter, and I respect the hell out of like individual sports because you don't have anybody to lean on. You have a corner and they're helping you, but they can't do nothing for you. They can only cheer you on, but it's all about you and what you can pull out of your own like deep dark place to like survive and fight and keep going. So I got mad respect, even though I don't watch it a lot. I'm not a huge fan of watching these guys go in and battle. I still have mad respect for what they do because that'd be scary as hell. I remember getting freaked out just trying to go run a track meet, let alone go in there and possibly get a roundhouse kick to the head. They'd knock your ass silly. So they live on the edge, and I really respect that.
That's awesome. Well, I want to circle back because Jake, Rashad, you both mentioned Charlotte's Web and CBD, and I want to pose the question to all of you guys. We've seen this sort of industry develop and the way that sort of legalization of marijuana happened, and then the sort of extension and acceptance of CBD is therapeutic use for different reasons. People started to want to try that stuff, and you can see some parallels between decriminalization movements and therapeutic use of psilocybin, and now there's also this other movement of functional mushrooms. I'm curious, do you guys see parallels between the industries, and what do you think is importantly different about the movement of those worlds? Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I would say, um, looking back on the work we did for Charlotte's Web, it really was it was really sad that it took us football players to bring awareness to what Heather Jackson, Paige Fiji, and these mothers were doing for just the survival of their child, and whatever they could do, they were trying to fight for their child's life. And here we come, oh, I'm dealing with inflammation and PTSD from making millions in the NFL. Well, poor you, but it really was thinking back to what the education and advocacy on that was. That was so simple. It was two plants. I know there's a lot of strains, but it was marijuana and hemp, and the difference was very obvious. One gets you high, one doesn't. They all kind of carry the same similar healing modalities and a lot of the same similar ways to help you. We step into this mushroom world now, the fungi queendom. It's insane because I still don't think we know what lion's mane does completely for the human body. We say it's good for neuronal projection and neuronal growth and for the sheath on the, I mean, all this stuff. It's helping your brain. I still don't know if we know one one tenth of what lion's mane does for our entire human body. So we're stepping into the real deal now, and this isn't child's play anymore. This isn't smoking weed and all that. And like CBD is great for you. It has its place in the world. This is real, true, legitimate next level healing that requires a sort of maturity and a sort of attitude and outlook on it that is very reverent and respectful for what we're stepping into. This queendom is vast. It has almost everything that you could imagine to help the human body start the healing process. And I'm excited because I'm just on the front end of this, as there's been many more before us and before Umbo and some amazing mycologists that have done some really, really good work. We're stepping in as athletes and obviously benefiting from this, but also being another chance, another opportunity to be a voice for this. And so it's it's the real deal, and we know this. But now it's again differentiating between, oh, I handed a bar to this lady actually last night or 2 nights ago at handball, and she seemed like an intelligent woman. Like, okay, I know her. She seems pretty intelligent. She said, well, if I eat this, will I be able to drive all the way home? I'm like, yeah, it's got functional mushrooms in it. And here's a lady who I would assume would know the difference. She's still like, oh, psychedelics. Yeah, Jake, you're the mushroom man. Hee, like funny. Nah, this is mushrooms are everywhere. There's millions of them. We focus on one, and that's psychedelics. That's psilocybin. That's great. It has its use. It has its healing powers. But the real the real work has to be done to continue to just educate people, because a lot of very smart, very intelligent people don't know the difference. And there's the real big similarity there with Charlotte's Web, except now we're going from one plant and another to then one fungus, one fungi, one mushroom to hundreds of thousands that could possibly be beneficial. So stepping into the real deal here.
Yeah, I would add to that too. The difference between the two is the fact that the mushrooms movement has been able to get a piggyback off of what the cannabis industry has done, and really just breaking down the doors that the cannabis industry had to, with getting people to understand the powers of plant medicine. Plant medicine is something that it's kind of had its stigmatization to it and everything else like that. And now that the doors have been broken open by the cannabis industry, people understand that there are good medicines and there are good uses for plant medicine. And I feel also the time where we're at in this world, people are starting to want to pull away from the pharmaceuticals a little bit and get a little bit more natural, because we've tried it. We tried everything, and not to try to bag on any kind of pharmaceuticals, because I mean, I'm sure they have their place, but at the end of the day, a lot of people feel like they've been more or less led astray by these pharmaceuticals, and some people have gotten into some really bad situations by leaning on these pharmaceuticals that really never get you better and just only makes you more dependent as you continue to take them. So it's a rub from the cannabis industry, but I truly believe that with mushrooms, it has a trajectory to go in different places than cannabis has, because of the fact that you know when you use the medicine, it changes you on a level that cannabis really doesn't. It changes you psychologically, it changes your body, where in a way that cannabis truly cannot.
Point.
Yeah, I'll add to what you said, Rashad, and Jason, the fact that we talk about alternative medicine and cannabis and mushrooms and ashwagandha and these types of natural things. We call them alternatives. And Jake and I were talking, it's kind of criminal to do that. What should the alternative should be pharmaceuticals. That is the alternative after these natural, softer, effective plants. If they aren't effective for whatever reason, then you go to the alternative of pharmaceuticals. So I'd love to see the idea of like, what an alternative health resource shift towards maybe some of those pharmaceuticals, and we start taking our power back in our own hands. And then the thing I'll add about cannabis and mushrooms and their similarities and whatnot, and again, to Rashad's point, cannabis definitely kind of paved the way, and the idea of it being the gateway drug to recognizing all the bullshit lies they fed us about cannabis are all untrue, and it gives you the gateway to open the door to other medicines like psilocybin. What have you been lying to us about psilocybin? Let's start looking at that, all these other things. Ibogaine is going to cure the opioid epidemic. We're going to see Ibogaine be a huge player in helping that out. And it's a real crime that we don't know anything about it, really, at this point. I mean, as much as we should. So cannabis definitely has paved the way, but the I don't like the word opportunity as much as the way that the fungal kingdom can help human beings outside of just health and wellness, textiles, bioremediation, all these other wonderful things. It's very, very vast, and I'm pretty excited about the future of that.
I love it. Got a few more questions for you guys. The first is, we're talking about Umbo and its formation. Where did the name come from? How did you guys decide, that we're going to call this project Umbo?
Umbo is the mushroom cap. So that word is the descriptor of the very top, and obviously Jake and Rashad kind of being at the top of their game and the best at what they do really kind of makes sense. Our other partner who's been at it with us for some time was involved with a couple of other companies. I don't know if I'd drop them, but Bibo and Ebu, and then Umbo. So it kind of sounded funny, like they all fit, but yeah, Umbo is the very top of the mushroom cap. So fitting for us.
And it's a very fitting and appropriate name, because I remember talking with Dale when we first wanted to get into this, and working with Charlotte's Web set us on this course. As you look at all the hemp oil companies that came out of the woodworks really early on, and I remember working with Ryan Kingsbury. Dale, you remember Ryan, who was very instrumental in all that we did with the Bright Lights Fade. He said, just don't worry, 80% of these companies will be gone. The ones that do it right and do it legit will stay here. And Charlotte's Web from the get-go has had one of the best products, if not the best, on the market. And I remember telling you, Dale, in summer before we started this, was like, if I do this, I don't want to have just any old product. I want to have the best. I want to try to have, and not for my ego. This is so that when people want to go find a good mushroom product, then they can find one that they can trust, and they know that what's going into this is like a lot of intention, but also putting out a product that has what it says it has in it. Mushrooms has a lot of them in it, and is sourced from very, very good sources to create the best products out there. So you're getting a really rich and heavy dose of the mushrooms, and in whatever form you take them. And so that was what, Umbo being the very tip top, we want to kind of set the bar high to be the brand people can trust, is that we're putting in the bottle what says is in the bottle.
Awesome. I have just a quick rapid fire question for you guys, because Dell, obviously, he runs this nonprofit, Unlimited Sciences. They've done some research on, psilocybin and there's ayahuasca studies and things like that. Obviously, there's a whole world to research here with functional mushrooms. Is there a particular mushroom and particular use case or benefit you'd like to see research done? Focusing on a particular area for athletes or whatever it may be. Is there some kind of area you're excited to see develop now that these doors are starting to open and there's a lot of interest in this space?
Yeah, I'll rapid fire on that real quickly. I mean, obviously, lion's mane is incredibly hopeful for a lot of cognitive deals, and people are aware of that. But I'm going to just say right now, bird's nest fungus and CBD, the studies that are being done out in Israel for pancreatic cancer, holy shit, they are having some tremendous wins out there. And to think bird's nest fungus, I mean, whoever thought to start analyzing whatever's in there and combining it with CBD to treat pancreatic cancer, the success rates that they're having is really it's outrageous, and I'd like to see that continue. That's one. I mean, I could rattle off so much, but I'll let Jake or Rashad take it away.
You talking about just mushrooms in general, or just the functional mushrooms? Like
whatever sticks out. Yeah.
okay. Well, I've been doing a little bit of research on the cordyceps and what it does for the brain and stuff like that with traumatic brain injuries and stuff like that. And I'll be very interested to see some studies with that and athletes and stuff, because in MMA, you're constantly getting hit in the head. And I tell you what, some of the biggest nicks that I've had have not been in the fight, but in training. So on a consistent basis, you get those knocks. I remember sparring some days, and then for the rest of the day, I'm kind of foggy. And without a doubt, I probably was a little concussed, but it's just the accumulation of that over time that really starts to have a significant difference on just your ability to remember and just, your overall mental health. And so I would love to see some studies done with using that, cordyceps, lion's mane, and some psilocybin, and focused on some fighters, because the trauma that we take and stuff like that is quite significant. And some of these fighters have had long careers, and from 20 years, and some of the effects of it you can't really see at first, but then as time goes by, you hear it in the way they speak, and just their ability to articulate themselves. So I would love to see some research with that.
That's awesome. I'm down with you there, Rashad, and you too, Dale. It's hard to say what individual thing I'd like to see done. I know that more psilocybin studies are great for addiction, for alcoholism, which is something that's affected my family. Would love to see more studies like that come out, and more knowledge be presented to the people, to the masses, to understand that there are ways to, get off of these detrimental drugs and things that are causing you a lot of pain, just by eliminating this, propaganda or whatever. Like Dell said, when we found out about all the lies they told us about cannabis, let's keep finding out all the lies they're telling us about psilocybin, and then even just mushrooms in general. And, there's, like I said, this is a big step into real big boy, big girl, big person, big human medicine, because you can't just go grab a mushroom and check it out and eat it. I mean, you got to have some knowledge. And what I'm excited about, I'm really excited about in 30 years having a podcast where we're talking about how the mushrooms have affected us 30 years from now, because I believe they are the strongest, most beautiful form of preventative medicine that you can put in your body. They're helping your body function and work better for your longevity. And I know, some people don't want to be here that long, but I do. I want to live a long time. So the research and the studies that I'm excited to see are the ones that we're doing right now, all of us, by taking the mushrooms, by using them day to day, by growing, by expanding, by always being open to what's next, what's new. Let's try to make this world a better place. And that may be through using oyster mushrooms to eat plastic. I mean, let's all get on the right page here to understand this whole entire queendom and the vast opportunities opportunities. There comes the word again, Dale, but like the vast amount of good we can do through this beautiful organism. And in 30 years, I'm hyped to see like where I'll be, what I'll look like, how good I'll be feeling, and be able to write a paper then and be someone published by then after 30 years of when I'm 78, be like, yo, look, I can still do this. I don't know if it's only the mushrooms, but I know that it gave me that ability to go there and believe in that. And so there's so much going on in this field. We're all blessed. I'm blessed to have known Dale and to have him reach out and say, hey, let's start this mushroom company. Then to meet Rashad, to meet you, Mike, to just continue to be a voice for this change that needs to happen, this change for people's health. That's really all we're doing this for, is to help people heal and feel better. And man, what a powerful thing to have in our hands. A really, really great gift that I hold with reverence, to be able to walk this land and have people come up to me and say, hey, you know about mushrooms. Tell me a little bit. Do you think you could help me with this? Which one should I try? Like, that's amazing. I didn't have to go to 8 years of school to get a doctorate to be able to guide people to something that may help them. And so whatever it is, can't make medical claims. These things are helping, and the proof is in the pudding. I always keep, say that proof's in the pudding. You gotta be living it also. And so we're all living it. We're all doing well. We're all doing right. We're all trying to excel and be better in this world. And so what research is happening, there's a lot, and I'm excited to see where we can go with Umbo once the time is right to start doing some good research with athletes, former athletes, and the assimilation process and the getting back into life.
Love it. All right,
It wasn't
guys.
very short, so sorry.
No worries. We've got a community question I'll offer you guys, and then we can wrap this thing up. And so this is from Jay Maraska. If you were to write a letter to the next generation, what would it say? If you were to write a letter to the next generation, what would it say? You don't need to tell me the whole letter, but if there are some headlines or important things you might want to impart to the youth, and maybe that's not flexing in the mirror with your shirt off or something like that. But yeah, anything jump to mind?
For me, I would just tell them to find that one thing in life that makes them excited to wake up every single day and pursue that with everything. And it's not so much about being successful at that one thing they're trying to pursue, but it's more or less about living in that place of love and resonating from the area, because whether you're successful in it or not, it will inevitably lead you to the next thing that you are heartfelt about and that you love and that you are able to excel at. So follow your heart. But I'll also say, find out what you are. You find out what you are, not who you are, but what you are. When you find out what you are, the world will make a lot more sense.
Very nice. I'm going to say the headline of my letter would be, put down your cell phones, keep your head on a swivel, and get to know Del Jolly.
Is that it? Is that the letter? That's awfully kind. No, I mean that's tough. I think if you could be anything, be kind. Right? And I know how like cliche that is, but damn, man, this world is so hard. It's so tough. We don't need to add to that shit by asking to each other. So throw a smile to someone, give someone a compliment. It's the little things. I think that we get so caught up. Obviously, Jake and Rashad are accomplished guys. I think that what people will say about them when they go, and I hope they'd say the same thing about me. It's the way that they made you feel. It's the little things. When I reflect on our friendships as homies, it's the little things that happen. The idea of Rashad charging in the sun, just thinking about that energy, man. That it's those little things that make me feel blessed to have him as a friend, or the way that you laugh, and it sounds exactly like Roland, your son, your oldest son. It's such a beautiful little tiny thing. And so what I would say to my listeners, be aware of the little things. don't minimize your contribution. If you're not, a world champion UFC fighter or a high level ball player or whatever that is, whatever it is that you are doing is incredibly important because you're just paving the way for stand on your shoulders to rise up. So little things are super important. So pay attention to the little things, I would say.
Awesome. Well, that takes us to the end, guys. I mean, there's a lot more we could dig into to sort of unearth the mycelial roots of umbo, maybe for another time, but got some great insights, some great stories on this episode. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Jake.
Peace, love, and
See y'all next
mushrooms.